My, female 32, father 60s, has been married to Sasha, fake name 40s, for almost a decade. I was already an adult when they started seeing each other, so I never had much of a relationship with her. That said, Sasha was nice and thoughtful, though a bit annoying at times, and I never had any problems with her. I now have a husband, male 34, and 2 kids, male 9 and 4F. Sasha is very fond of my children, especially my daughter. That became very suffocating pretty quickly, so we started setting some boundaries. She never overstepped them. In January, my father and Sasha decided to go on a trip to Disney World and invited us to join them. We decided to go to celebrate our son's 9th birthday. I quickly regretted coming along. Sasha spent the entire trip fussing over my daughter in ways that overstepped almost every boundary we'd set. Examples include, Sasha bought a mini ears tiara. She wanted me to buy my daughter an identical one so they could match. My daughter didn't like the tiara, so I bought her a Donald Duck hat instead. Sasha got her the tiara anyway and was upset that she didn't want to wear it. My father and Sasha went shopping in between parks. I told them not to buy my kids anything, as we still had shopping to do and didn't want to risk making our bags too heavy. Still, Sasha returned with 5 bags of clothing for my daughter and 2 for my son, saying she couldn't resist it. My daughter wanted a Belle costume to wear at the parks, as that's her favorite princess. Sasha tried to convince us to get her an Ariel costume instead, because that's her favorite. I explained that we never watched The Little Mermaid at home because my daughter is scared of Ursula. Sasha insisted on taking dozens of pictures with my daughter in front of the castle at Magic Kingdom. She also took some with my son, but not nearly as many. She tried to convince us to take our daughter to Babidi Babidi Boutique. We refused because the prices are crazy and we'd already bought her the Belle costume. She offered to pay, but we held our ground. I later found out Sasha tried to make a reservation anyway, but there was no availability. When we took our daughter to Slinky Dog Dash, her first roller coaster, Sasha tried to sit next to her. My daughter wanted to sit with me, so we switched. She tried to do the same thing in other attractions. At the Muppets Theater, she tried to get my daughter to sit in her lap. Sasha also tried to pick her up while we met some of the characters. There were more instances. The final straw for me, however, was the last park day of the trip. We were at Magic Kingdom. My husband suffered a minor injury, and I had to take him to the first aid station. The kids wanted to go to the Peter Pan ride, so my dad and Sasha offered to take them in the meantime. However, according to my father, the line was too long, so instead, Sasha suggested the Little Mermaid ride, assuring my kids Ursula wasn't on it. Actually, there's a pretty big Ursula animatronic there. My daughter was still sobbing and hugging her brother when we reunited. When we flew back home, I told my father that we'd no longer take our children on trips with Sasha due to her behavior. He got extremely angry. He said his wife loved my kids, thought about what they'd like to do at every moment of the trip, and that we should be grateful to have her in our lives. I lost my temper at that. I told him Sasha was a fucking creep, and that they should be grateful I was still okay with them, even seeing my children after her actions during the trip. We ended up having a huge fight after that. It's been weeks since we returned home, and my father is still angry at me and my husband. Sasha has texted me a few times. She says she's sorry if she made me uncomfortable, but that she loves my kids and hoped to use the trip to spend more time with them. To be honest, I don't think I'm the AH here, but I do think I might have overreacted. I believe there's a chance Sasha's actions were motivated by love, and she truly did have good intentions. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments. Significant cat. Not the idiot, you set some pretty clear boundaries that Sasha kept crossing the entire trip. Even your daughter seems to not be particularly receptive towards her. Also, your son can probably pick up on this favoritism, and that's not good for him either. I don't mean to do armchair psychology, but this reads like Sasha has always wanted a young daughter and is using yours to live vicariously through. Hence why she kept trying to push things that your daughter doesn't like onto her. Tiara, Little Mermaid ride, etc. My son doesn't like Sasha. I'm not sure why, but I think he gets that she favors my daughter. He's also very protective of his sister, so her discomfort could also be a reason. 1D1 in 0, he definitely can. When I was 5, I could tell my grandma favorited my younger sister. Not to mention, it was his birthday, and his sister was getting loads of attention and presents. It'd be harder for him not to notice. At least he has the maturity to understand. It's not his sister's fault. I will say that he got more birthday presents than his sister got, Disney souvenirs. But no thanks to Sasha. When they gave him one of those happy birthday buttons, Sasha tried to ask for an extra one for my daughter so she wouldn't feel left out. I asked for a first visit one instead, but that was how Sasha behaved during his birthday. Beautiful story 2811. Not the idiot, she sounds exhausting. But, she also doesn't seem like a truly awful person. So, we started setting some boundaries. She never overstepped them. Question: does she have children of her own? She probably sees your kids as a chance to play mommy if she's never had kids. She may not even be aware of exactly how intrusive she's being. Looks like there's a 20-year age gap between she and your dad. She probably thought she'd be okay with not having kids. I'm guessing your dad may have told her he's done having babies. But your little ones, especially your daughter, may have just stirred up those feelings and she's trying to compensate. I still don't think you're TA, but maybe have an honest talk with her, just you and her, and try and show a little grace. My apologies if you've done all that already and she's still being a pill. OP, you're right about a lot of things. She doesn't have kids. My dad doesn't want more children. And while she's defined herself as child-free before, she's also told me she'd always wondered what having a daughter would be like. My husband and I started setting boundaries because the situation was really bad when my daughter was younger. She'd wake her up from her naps when she visited, post pictures of her on social media without our approval, and complain about almost every parenting decision we'd make because it wasn't how she'd do it. Now for the 1 week update. Hey everyone, I'm ready to give you an update. I read your comments and came to the following conclusion. As much as Sasha's behavior towards my children angered me and freaked me out, calling her a creep was the wrong reaction to have. That said, I think it's best for my family to distance itself from Sasha for the time being. And at the very least, my previous decision to avoid future trips with her based on the Disney trip is still the best course of action. Sasha's pushiness, tendency to override my and my husband's parenting, and blatant favoritism towards my daughter were much worse when the kids were younger. After my daughter's birth, she began to focus too much attention on her and almost none on my son. I gave more examples of that in the comments on my original post. That's the reason we set boundaries in the first place. Her fixation on my daughter also bothers me. When we had the boundary conversation with my father and Sasha, she told us that she'd always wondered what having a daughter would be like. She'd also defined herself as child-free before, so I was never certain what to think of that. Either way, that reassured me and my husband that we were doing the best for our kids. Those boundaries had never been overstepped. Then we went on the Disney trip, and most of them were completely ignored. Many of you pointed out that she might have gotten carried away, or that Disney is exciting and she wanted to make sure my kids had the best experience, etc. There are 2 things I'll say to that. The first is that whatever Sasha's reasons were, she still overstepped our boundaries. When we first set those, we told her that doing so would have consequences. Disney or not, I don't see a reason to make an exception. Secondly, she wasn't trying to ensure my kids had the best experience. She was pushing them to fulfill her fantasy of what their Disney trip should look like. She repeatedly ignored my children's wishes in favor of her own, despite them both being very clear about what they wanted and didn't want. Sasha also continually favored my daughter, including during my son's birthday, and fussed over her in ways that made her uncomfortable. And I still haven't forgiven the Little Mermaid thing. My daughter is a bit shy and takes a while to open up to most people, so knowing her trust was broken like that angers me in ways I can't describe. To put it in simpler terms, my children aren't props, and whoever treats them as such will, at the very least, be put in timeout. I called my father and Sasha on Saturday. I apologized for calling Sasha a creep, but told them that we needed some time apart. They won't see my family until my younger sister's birthday in late April. If that goes well, they'll be invited to my daughter's 5th birthday party in May. After that, we'll slowly work on reestablishing contact. I also said that if they overstepped our boundaries again, the consequences would be more dire. My father didn't take it well. I don't care. Sasha sent me a text with more apologies, followed by a request to at least FaceTime my kids every now and then. I said no. And to those who said my controlling behavior ruined the trip, my kids had an amazing time at Disney World. They're both still talking about it. My daughter keeps asking us to put her pictures with the characters she met up on the wall, and my son says he had the best birthday ever. I think that's it. Thank you for your advice and support on my first post. Now for some comments. Tony Rains 80. These are your kids and your rules, period. Canyon Moon. You protected your children, and that's the best thing you can do in any situation. I'm glad they're still talking about the trip, despite favoritism and the Ursula animatronic, which means you and your husband managed to outshine all of that with wonderful memories. For the possible reconciliation, everyone can act normal for a day, the birthday in late April, especially if they know there's a goalpost on that day. It's the behavior over time that counts. If they're still messaging you, requesting FaceTime calls, and calling you unreasonable, despite you clearly saying you want no contact, you could begin a tally, 1 point for each request, and when it's X amount of points, they'll have their timeout extended because they obviously don't understand boundaries yet. Then OP replied, "That's great advice. We don't want to go no contact, but we will if our boundaries are disrespected." Knowing my father, a tally wouldn't be well received. I'm doing my best to avoid turning this into a bigger fight, but that kind of system would probably make things worse. It might be worth a shot, though. I'll talk to my husband about it. Or in Links 3853 female, you don't need to tell them. Just count for yourselves and put them on timeout. If they ask why, you can provide a full list of overstepped boundaries. And to be honest, for me, Sasha is a creep. A mild one, but her behavior is creepy. But that's just on me. Then OP replied, "Oh yeah, I think it's creepy too. I apologized because it really wasn't the word I should have used, and she is a mild one, but I still think it applies." Baroni 88. Ask your daughter how Sasha makes her feel. If she expresses discomfort, you know what you need to do. A bit of a story time. When I was 8, my parents divorced. Shortly after, my dad took me to visit his mother in Florida, the first time I'd seen her since my literal birth. She arranged a trip to Disney World for us, my first and only trip there. Somehow, Dad met up with an old girlfriend of his at his mom's. I have no idea how, because as far as I know, he had never lived in Florida himself. She invited herself into our vacation. The woman made my 8-year-old self supremely uncomfortable. She tried to insert herself into my life as a replacement mother, bad-mouthed my own mom, and tried to convince me she didn't love me and that she herself should be my new mom, even slept with me on the pull-out couch, which really freaked me out. My dad didn't realize any of this. He was so clueless, and I didn't know how to tell him what was happening. This was supposed to be my bonding time with my grandmother, and this strange woman was ruining it. She went with us to Disney World, and she tainted that trip in much the way Sasha tainted yours. She was so overbearing and made everything about the relationship between her and I. I didn't really get to enjoy much of that day. There were even a few times when I was so overwhelmed I broke down in tears, like your daughter. The excuse was that I was afraid of the rides that she pressured me into going on, but her behavior contributed to my meltdowns, as did my sleepless nights with that woman on the couch. My experience is not identical to yours, but I hope it offered a child's perspective of such a situation. Your daughter may not like all of the attention Sasha was giving her, but may not be able to articulate it, or may be afraid to. Sit her down and talk to her about it. Tell her it's okay to tell you anything, and ask her how the experience made her feel. Then OP replied, "Thank you for sharing that. It's always been clear that my daughter was uncomfortable with Sasha's behavior, which is why we made so many efforts to reinforce our boundaries. Timid or not, she was very vocal about what she wanted, be it our company, not Sasha's, or specific rides and souvenirs. In spite of that, I know we didn't shelter our daughter from everything. She's only 4, so I know the situation was a lot for her to process, and she can't articulate her feelings as well as her brother can. But she's not looking forward to seeing Sasha anytime soon, and I intend to respect that. Now for the 1-month update. Last time I posted here, I mentioned that my father and Sasha wouldn't see my children until my younger sister's birthday. The party took place last weekend, and we didn't attend. These 2 months of no contact worked fine, but not great. My father respected my wishes, to my surprise, but Sasha kept trying to find ways to talk to my children. She'd call me under the guise of needing to ask me something, only to later say, "By the way, are the kids around? I want to say hi." Every time she tried that, I'd remind her of what I'd told her back in March. This must have happened almost a dozen times, which was enough for my husband and I to start debating on skipping the party. After speaking to our kids, we decided not to go. They both said they missed my father, but clearly didn't want to see Sasha. We thought about attending and just distancing them from her while there, but risking making our children uncomfortable wasn't worth it. My son even asked if we could see their aunt somewhere else, without Sasha around. My husband and I explained the situation to my sister. She was upset, but mostly because she hadn't seen the kids in a while. We all went to dinner at her favorite restaurant the day after her party. I also called my father and told him we wouldn't go to the birthday party. He reacted better than I expected, but we still had a short fight about it. He claimed that I had promised we'd let Sasha see the kids after 2 months, called me unfair, and said he was entitled to have a relationship with his grandchildren. I immediately denied that. Though I tried to sugarcoat it at first, I eventually gave him the truth. My kids don't want to see his wife, and I won't force them to. My father and I had a long talk. I told him how much Sasha's actions at the Disney trip upset my children, as well as how uncomfortable me and my husband felt. I admitted I don't trust his wife at all, and I don't think I ever truly will. He said that while he still thought I was overreacting, he understood I wanted to protect my kids. My dad also told me about how these 2 months of no contact were for them. Apparently, Sasha started talking about my kids, mostly my daughter, a lot more than usual. She'd mention things and places she thought they would like. My father was aware of one of the times she called me, but thought it was a one-time thing. She wanted to give my daughter a gift at my sister's birthday party. He said he didn't know why. At one point, she told him she wanted to plan another family vacation with the kids, even though I told them they're not traveling with Sasha anymore. Learning all of that just made me more certain that I can't trust this woman around my children. For now, I intend to remain LC with my father and no contact with Sasha. My daughter told me she wanted her grandpa at her birthday party a few weeks from now, so I told him that he was invited, but Sasha wasn't. He agreed. To be honest, I don't trust my father after all of this. I'm allowing him to come because that party will take place at my home, which is easier for me to control. If he tries to bring Sasha, they'll both be kicked out, and it will take a long time for me to consider letting him near my kids again. My father hasn't told me how his wife is reacting to this. My sister told me that during her party, Sasha asked her to tell me she wanted to talk. I'm not reaching out to her, nor do I plan to respond if she attempts to contact me. Both me and my husband have blocked her. My children are doing great. They still talk about how much fun they had at Disney. My daughter's been saving money, putting coins in her piggy bank for us to go back. On a completely different note, I'm pregnant again. This was completely unplanned. I always said I wanted 2 kids at most, and the third would have to be a huge accident, but my husband and I are ecstatic. I'm still in the first trimester, so not a lot of people know. We're brainstorming ways to tell our kids. Overall, I'm happy with my life right now. And as much as I wish this Sasha situation had never happened, I feel like a better parent after dealing with it. I have never been more confident in my abilities to protect my children than I am now. I don't think I'll update again anytime soon. Once again, thank you for all the support you've given me. I wish you the best. Now for a few comments. Dalton402 said, "I'll get the worst part out of the way first. Your dad was always going to support his wife. However, God, you did the right thing. What Sasha is doing is major overcompensating for something. If she treated all your kids the same, it would be one thing, but her fixation on your daughter is creepy. I don't think you should have apologized for it. I wonder if there is some trauma in Sasha's life involving a daughter that she hasn't admitted to. OP replied, "If there is any trauma, I can sympathize with her, but I can't let her use my daughter as a therapy pet. I hate to admit it, but I agree my father's always going to support her. I really hope this attempt at LC with him works." Lazuli Rose said, "Sorry, but I think Sasha is a creep. I'm sure you already planned to do this, but I would keep my exact due date secret so Sasha and Pop don't show up at the hospital. Don't tell anyone, but whoever is going to watch your two little ones that you are in labor, or at least make sure they won't slip up and tell Sasha." OP replied, "Yeah, I'm not telling anyone. My kids will probably be watched by either my mom or my mother-in-law, neither of whom would tell Sasha anything." Now for the 3-month update. First of all, my father didn't bring Sasha to my daughter's birthday party back in May. I didn't really think he would. I'd made it very clear I wouldn't tolerate that. But I'd be lying if I said your comments didn't make me a little paranoid. Secondly, I've just entered my 3rd trimester and the baby will be here in November. The kids are ecstatic. I'm having another girl, but my husband and I are not sharing the intimacy until she's born. This has nothing to do with our families. It's just something we've also done with our first 2. Everyone, including Sasha, knows I'm pregnant. We announced it a couple months ago. I had no problem with my father telling her, though he did ask if he could. I didn't hear much about her reaction, but according to my father, she was happy for me. My children still don't want to see Sasha, and I'm still not forcing them to. I've unblocked her and put her on mute instead, but she hasn't made any attempts to contact me. We've continued meeting my father without his wife, and I think it's been working out. My relationship with him isn't fantastic, but it's much better than it was earlier this year. Last week, I saw Sasha for the first time in months. My cousin threw a party at her place. My husband and I attended, as did my father and Sasha. I knew she'd be there, but since the kids weren't with us, son had a sleepover, daughter stayed with my mom, I didn't really have anything against seeing her. They arrived sometime after we did. My husband and I spoke with them for a few minutes, and it was less awkward than I expected. Sasha asked me about the baby's intimacy, and I told her we weren't telling anyone, which again is what we've always done. About 20 minutes later, my father told me they had to go. I thought it was weird that they were leaving so soon, but I didn't think much of it at the time. He called me a few days ago, and we spoke for a long time. My father is difficult to talk to, so the following is what I gathered from the conversation. He said they left early because Sasha was holding back tears after she saw me. She was sobbing by the time they got to the car. They later had a discussion about it, and Sasha admitted she wanted kids. She married my dad knowing he didn't, but hoped he would change his mind. Apparently, when my son was born, Sasha tried to drop "I want one" hints to my father. He didn't notice it, so she gave up. According to my father, Sasha told him she loved my kids equally, but my daughter was special because she always imagined herself as a girl mom. That's also the reason why she became such a suffocating presence when my daughter was a baby. When my husband and I started setting boundaries, Sasha realized she was overstepping and agreed to abide by them. To her credit, I think she did a mostly okay job back then, but the favoritism was still obvious enough that my son noticed it. The trip we took was a turning point because Sasha's dream of having a daughter included taking her to Disney World and having her do all the things she liked to do there when she was young. She told my father that having my daughter there was so exciting that she forgot everything I'd said about not overstepping. Sasha wanted a mother-daughter trip and tried to use my child for it. Sasha said she regretted her actions during the Disney trip, but only because she lost access to my children due to them. And seeing me at the party, all pregnant and pretty, my father's words, not sure she actually said that, was what drove her over the edge. I remember reading some comments theorizing that this was what was going on, but I still didn't really expect this. My father said he was telling me all this because his wife wasn't doing well, and he'd understand if I wanted to keep my kids away from her. Didn't expect that either. I don't know what the future of their relationship will be, and I don't think my father does either. All I know is that if Sasha still wants to have kids, it almost definitely will not be with my father. Before all this, I was pondering about my third child's future in relation to Sasha. Now, I sincerely don't want her to be a part of my baby's life. This isn't a final decision, but I've been speaking to my husband about it, and he agrees with me. I don't think she's a bad person. I got some baby stealer comments on my previous update, but I don't think that's what's happening here either. But if the Disney trip proved anything to me, it's that Sasha is willing to be extremely selfish and disrespectful to get what she wants, even when my kids are involved. A couple months ago, my husband and I had a conversation with our son about the subject. He told us he dislikes Sasha for 2 reasons. She favors his sister, and she doesn't listen to them. Honestly, that's all I need to know. Looking back at my own childhood, I feel like I was never allowed to have boundaries. I was always expected to put my schedules and preferences aside for others. It's important to me that my children don't go through that. If they don't want to see Sasha, they don't have to. I think that's all I want to say here. I'm doing well. I actually got some great news from work recently. My kids are thriving, and I'm excited to meet my third baby. Again, thank you guys. Now for a few comments. Commenter Medusa Stone said, "Congrats on your second daughter. As for the rest, I don't think I'd call Sasha dangerous, but I think you're making the right choice in not allowing her around your kids." OP replied, "Thank you. I don't think she's dangerous either, but I don't want her to keep treating my children like this. I remember that during the Disney trip, there were many instances in which my kids were clearly uncomfortable with her behavior, but Sasha would continue to overstep. The way she acted after we went LC earlier this year also freaked me out. Am I the idiot for taking my sister to the ER after she bled through a tampon and pad? Okay, so I, male 19, am babysitting my little sister, female 15, while our parents are on a trip internationally. It's like a completely different time zone, and the signal sucks. They get home in like 6 days. But we are both pretty self-sufficient and felt like it would be fine, and my parents left us food and money and stuff. We've been Gucci for a whole week so far. Anyway, this morning she got her period while we were just like sitting playing video games, and she got blood all over the couch. So I paused the game while she took care of it and put on a tampon and didn't make a big deal of it. I was trying to be nice, because I know it can make girls cranky and it hurts and stuff, so I got snacks and a blanket and whatever, and we kept playing. Well, like maybe 40 minutes later, she freaked out because she bled on the couch again, and I'm like, did you put the thing on wrong or what? So she changed again, and I even helped her clean the blood off the couch this time, and I figured she'd use a bigger feminine thing. MBD. Well, like 30 minutes after we start playing again, she pauses and goes to the bathroom, and I hear her scream. So I run over there thinking there's a spider or something, but she came out holding like this chunk. It was like a chunk of blood. But looking at it, I'm like, shoot, maybe that's an organ? Like, is that your kidney? But she was like, no, it's a clot. And she was freaking out about it. Which, yeah, it was gross. It was like the size of a hacky sack. So I'm like, okay, well, go flush your clot. Anyway, she cleans herself up, but then she said she doesn't want to play anymore. And I'm like, okay. So she spent an hour on the couch with her face all scrunched up, doing yoga breathing and telling me her cramps were the worst ever. So I gave her Tylenol, but she wouldn't take it because she said she feels like she's gonna throw up. I brought her water and juice and warmed up that gel thing you stick on your stomach, you know? So I was trying to help. Well, then she says, oh no. And she gets up and goes to the bathroom, and as she's walking, she's got like blood going down her leg. She yelled for me from the bathroom, and I go in there, and she's sitting there, and I hear this plopping sound, and there's more of those chunks, like maybe 2 of them. And she says, I think we need to go to the ER. I'm like, why? And she tells me this is more blood than she's ever had, and she doesn't feel good. But periods are supposed to suck, right? And she wouldn't take the Tylenol either, so she didn't really try to manage it at home. So then she started yelling at me, telling me I have to take her because she can't drive, but I'm pretty sure our parents will unalive me if I take her to the ER for her period. Is that a thing? She's sitting in the shower now because she said she thought the warm water would feel good and she was sick of bleeding on stuff and it's more comfortable than the toilet. I asked her if she just needs a bigger tampon and she told me to step few, so she's not even communicating with me at this point. I've asked her a few times if she's okay in there and she tells me, "I'm bleeding out, Mason. What do you think?" So like she's not unconscious. I don't know anything about this, but I also know she hates blood and flips out about any minor cut too. Is going to the ER because of a period a thing? Can you bleed too much? I thought there was only a certain amount of blood in the female genitalia every month. I feel like she'd be more comfortable at home anyway if she'd just take the Tylenol. I'd what to do. My sister is like average teenage girl, height, pretty skinny because she's a ballerina and doesn't eat meat. She takes Accutane for her pimples. I'm not sure if there's other stuff that's important. She's had her period for like a year now, I'm pretty sure. Maybe more. She takes Flintstone gummy vitamins sometimes, like the ones in the purple jar, and she's obsessed with Celsius energy drinks. She wears contacts and she had her wisdom teeth removed 2 months ago. IDK, I want her to be okay and stuff, but I'm not sure the ER is a good choice. Help? Now for some comments. After being asked if sister might be pregnant, IDK, I don't think she's having intimacy. She doesn't have a boyfriend or anything, and she doesn't go on dates. I asked her if she was pregnant, and she told me to frick off. So, do I call ahead or something? Or just go? Am I supposed to bring anything? Or like stay there or drop her off? Just go. You don't need to call ahead. Bring both your phones and a charger and some cash for vending machines. Don't expect your sister to necessarily want to eat for a while, and maybe expect her to get annoyed if you eat in front of her. She is very, very stressed right now and really, really does not feel good. Then be a good big brother and stay there with her. She will always remember it, and it will make up for you not listening to her earlier. She will probably want you to step out for the DAR exam, but will want you there for the rest. Be understanding and expect it to take a while. She said she was soaking both of them, tampon and pad, at the same time, so I guess we are going. Okay, she's throwing some extra clothes and shooting a bag. I'm trying to think what my mom would do, so I brought water bottles, sunscreen, and snacks, and something to do. My sister asked why I changed my mind, and I told her about this, and she said, "I told you so," and called me a weenie, which like, okay, fair. I didn't know it was actually an emergency, so I guess I'll update when we find out what's wrong. I asked her if she wanted to call her friend's mom to be here or something, and she said no. So IDK if I should call someone or not, if she doesn't want them? Like, is that intrusive? Yeah, lol, I didn't think about the fact that it's inside, just like my mom always yelling about sunscreen. Okay, this makes me feel good because I packed her Squishmallow and I was kind of afraid to tell her I did that in case she thought it was embarrassing or some. I sent my mom a text. Yeah, we're here now. They took us back like almost as soon as we walked in. I mean, if I acted grossed out, she'd tell me to grow TF up, lol. My sister doesn't deal with stupid dudes, but yeah, we're close, and it's just blood, so. Okay, we got here. She threw up a couple times in the car, but she said she's good now. We walked in, and she was like dripping down her leg again, and they saw that at the desk, and maybe how freaking freaked I looked, lol, and took her back pretty much right away. So they stuck a needle in her with a tube on it basically right away and took vitals and stuff and a bunch of tubes of blood. I think what these numbers mean, but it was BP 7953 and pulse 133. She told the nurse she wants me here, so I'm here. I texted my mom. We left the sunscreen in the car and my sister said I'm a fool for packing it, lol. Idic man, these fluorescent lights are pea bright. Yeah, I filled in all the forms and stuff, and she signed saying they can tell me what's going on with her. They already had her insurance, so that was cool. Alright, so she's getting Zofran and fluids, and they're going to do an ultrasound in the room here. So far, we know she's not pregnant, and her labs, some of them weren't great. Hemoglobin was 6.8. That's basically the one I remember. She said to tell everyone thank you for the advice and stuff. She also said to say she feels okay, just really tired. I have a question though. They put a tube where she pees. I didn't watch or anything, but is it normal to do that? After the ultrasound, they said the doctor would come back and let us know some stuff. Only a paramedic, but her hemoglobin is low. Normal should be 12 to 15 for her age and gender. That combined with her heart rate and blood pressure you reported earlier is concerning. She absolutely needed to go to the ER for this. Good job making it happen. The tube is a catheter. I suspect that's a clear indication that they expect to admit her and/or don't believe it's safe for her to walk. The ultrasound is to see what the underlying cause of the bleeding is. Her doctor will likely let you know what to expect soon. She's emergent enough that they'll keep a closer eye on her than they would for a patient that had less critical issues. All right, the ultrasound was normal. She's being admitted. They want to test her for bleeding and clotting disorders now, and they're going to give her some blood. They asked if I know my blood type, which I don't, but I'm not sure why it matters. Sister is B+, though. Still haven't heard from my mom. I did call her and my dad, but it went to voicemail. Sister is still doing okay. She's got the nurses roaring, reading my post to them, and they're all making fun of me, saying tampad lol. They also mentioned potentially doing an abdominal CT. But if the ultrasound is normal, does she need that? Hijack, I'm not about to put my foot back in my mouth. I was panicking like a fool, trying not to forget anything, and for some reason, I thought we might need it. Hijack, I'm not going to pretend I got the brains in the family. So she packed clothes, and I packed her squishmallow and our switches so we would have stuff to do. But she didn't even want me to get up to go pee, so I don't think she wants me to leave, lol. She's asleep now, though. Yeah, she said she doesn't care as long as I don't post any pics of her, because she said she looks like 2024, Amanda Bynes and Britney Spears combined, lol. I took the nurses up on too many paper cups of shitty coffee, so I'm wired, lol. But she's out cold, and she probably needs the sleep more, lol. Yeah, she's sleeping on the squishmallow like a pillow right now, and told me it's the only reason she forgives me, lol. That's a good idea, though. When she wakes up, I'll ask her. I was Googling, do you go to the ER for a bad period? And that's how I found the subreddit, lol. But if something ever happens again, that's probably a better bet. Lol, man, it's not fake, but if it makes you feel better, you go ahead and think that. Bet you feel real smart. We both slept. Got a hold of our parents. My mom is looking for flights back home. Sister is feeling a lot better at this point. They gave her medicine to stop the bleeding. I wasn't expecting this to blow up the way it did, so there's no way I'll be able to answer everyone. She's doing okay, though. Should know more about the CT soon. Man, she changed my name in her phone to SPF. I'm never living this shoot down, lol. Yeah, she got blood. I didn't why, but watching red go in her freaked me out more than watching it go out. I thought I was gonna drop, lol. See, I'm not a fool, I'm just inventing new terms. She changed my name in her phone to SPF and wanted me to make sure I said so. I'm never living this down. Yeah, she's feeling a lot better now. The screen shows her last numbers from like a little bit ago as 101.65 and pulse of 80, so yeah, a lot better, I think. Alright, her vitals now are 101.65 and 80, so better. Also, apparently, the nurse only asked my blood type because she thought I looked like I was gonna faint watching them do shoot with my sister, and she was trying to distract me, lol. I was over here thinking I was gonna have to donate blood to save her or something. CT was good too. They're pretty sure she has a blood disorder, they're just waiting on the results of it. I guess when she had her wisdom teeth out, she bled more than she was supposed to, but I didn't know that before. So yeah, just waiting on that for now, but they don't think the issue is her uterus or whatever. Thanks. I mean, I know I should have just listened to her at first, but I don't hate her. Might be bothering me because I'm freaking tired now, lol. It's catching up to me. But we were playing Dreamlight Valley before all this because it's her favorite, lol. I run around like a little witch collecting stuff for her and looking for items she wants in the store. Like, I love her, I just didn't want to go there. If they were going to do stuff we could do at home. Now, for an update. Alright, so I guess I was posting updates in the comments, but it's better here. Anyway, so, my sister is okay. She had some scans that were all fine, and they don't think she has fibroids or tumors or anything like that. She's feeling a little better, but still staying here, at least another day. Our mom and dad are flying home tomorrow now. My mom was pissed. I texted her instead of calling at first, lol. Already had someone try to find me on Insta, so like, if you know me or her, no, you don't, lol. She doesn't want this going around school or whatever, so don't dox us for at least 3 years, lol. She's cool with me updating though, without her name or whatever. Also, our parents don't know about this either. IDK, I feel like we should wait until it's been a few years to tell them too, so they don't unalive me, lol. She's gonna hold this shoot over my head forever, lol. Anyway, they think she has a blood disorder that makes her not clot, right? I'm not 100% sure how it works because she had big clots, but they said they're pretty sure that's what's going on because her PTT took longer than normal to clot. They're waiting on von Willebrand testing to come back, but they think she has type 2 probably. Gonna Google that tonight because Hijack what that is, and I've never heard of it. So I guess if any of the doctors know what that is, or if this sounds like it, let me know. Yeah, wasn't expecting this to blow up like this, lol. I thought this was just like doctors answering questions like a helpline. But my sister said thank you for everyone telling me to take her, and she's okay. Hi, so it's me again, male 19, apparently not that smart, questioning my career goals as a teacher. Anyway, my sister was on her period and thought she needed to go to the ER, and she actually did. I've got another question now, but first, thank you to everyone who answered my first post and educated me because she was in rough shape. Except for the girl who suggested drinking whole milk. Even I'm not that stupid. WTF. Anyway, my sister has von Willebrand's disease, type 2. My mom and I also have it, apparently. My mom just got gaslit for years about how much she bled, and it took my sister almost dying for us to all get diagnosed. Like, what the heck? I play on a recreational rugby league. Gonna have to pay dues soon, and I don't want to be out the money if I'm gonna get told I shouldn't play anymore because it's a contact sport. But I don't see a hematologist for 5 weeks since I'm not urgent. So, was wondering if any of the doctors know if I'm gonna get told I probably shouldn't play rugby anymore. I also like rock climbing. Is that gonna be out? Should I learn chess or crochet or something? Thanks again. Now for a few comments. Somebody comments that he might not have type 2. He responds, "Hey, thanks. It's good to know it might not be the same. Honestly, I'm surprised I made it this far without my brain bleeding because I was the poster child for ADHD. Yeah, because of this, we taught my mom the word gaslit, and now she's using it all the time. Apparently, I'm gaslighting her when I say I vacuumed, but I half-ass it. But for real, it makes me sad because she would have to stay home from work and stuff, and I'm just learning how bad it was for her because she never really complained or anything. If I was bleeding out my weenie like that, I'd be bitching to high heaven." Then another commenter asks about his symptoms. He replies, "Hey, yeah, so I had nosebleeds and bruised easily my whole life, but to be fair, I've always been kind of rowdy and acted like life was an audition to be on Jackass, so I didn't think anything of it. My sister definitely has type 2. Don't know the subtype though. I probably won't find out that stuff until my appointment. I'm thinking, me and my mom both got phone calls that we have it, but not more details on that. So it would be reasonable to not pay the dues at this point. Gotta find a new hobby, I guess." When asked about his career choice, he says, "I was gonna be an elementary school teacher, but being as I almost let my sister die, maybe I shouldn't be in charge of 20 children, 7 hours a day." Talking about his mom's experience, he adds, "Oh yeah, I mean, she's in her 40s. She'll unalive me if I say exactly how old though, so like, I can't believe she's been suffering for 30-something years. She said she's about to write a big 'I told you so' to every doctor who ever told her to get used to it." Another comment asks about his well-being. "Oh yeah, I'm totally good. Thanks, man. Showed this to my sister and she said, 'Tell them you're already insufferable as it is. The last thing you need is an audience.' Savage." And finally he jokes, "Lol, one thing is for sure, no students will get sunburned on my watch." That's all for now. Am I the idiot for trying to save my marriage while my wife chased a gym fling? My wife, together 12, married 7, is leaving me for someone she has known 3 months. A slight preface. My wife and her brother were very close when young. He got very into alcohol, went to prison for 10 years, went immediately back to drinking, then died in front of her. My wife, 30, and I, 33, started going to the gym together. We were loving the results of the fitness. It made intimacy even better, and we couldn't keep our hands off each other. We felt as happy and close as ever. 3 weeks after her brother died, this guy chats her up at the gym, and she immediately clicks with him. I was wary, but I trusted my wife. She is a sweetheart, and never imagined her having the ability to have an affair. Last weekend, we had one of the most romantic days and evenings we have had in a while. This week, she decides that she cannot go on without finding out why she developed such a quick connection with this guy. We own a house and 3 pets. Her family and everyone we know are devastated and blown away, but she is dead serious. The woman I knew last week even, has left the building. This is a living nightmare that I just want to wake up from. We did couples counseling 3 times and have one scheduled on Wednesday, but she has completely made up her mind and seems to have rapidly fallen out of love with me. My life, as I had known it, is over. I just needed to get this all off my chest. Now for a few comments. Joey133, nothing will soothe your pain right now, but I want to say this anyway. I was with my wife for 20 years, 2 kids. She slowly developed a drinking problem, and it eventually, as I predicted for years, destroyed our marriage. Even now, 2.5 years later, I can't believe my life turned out this way. But I met someone new that I love and am very happy. Your life feels like it's over, but it's not. You will bounce back. You got this. Spirited Show 9831. Oh boy, this is going to be a rough road ahead. She is looking for an escape, and this guy is going to give her one. She doesn't like him. She likes the escape. She will 100% be back. Only you will know if it's too late. Extra aggressive hugger. This is exactly it. She's not looking to cheat. She's looking to get away from that trauma and grief. Run away and not deal with it. Now for the 8-month update. I had a kind Redditor reach out to me over the weekend, asking how I was doing regarding the above situation. The original post got a lot of attention, so I figured I would give an update. My wife filed for divorce a month after moving out. During this time, I did the whole online dating thing, which was way worse than I could have ever expected. Kept myself busy, working out, building my own confidence, hanging out with friends. In general, it was horrible, but I was trying to keep my head up. I was in therapy, didn't jive with my first therapist, found a new one in December, who I liked a lot more, and am still seeing her. Mid-December, my wife calls me, crying, asking if she can stay in the guest bedroom because she has nowhere to go. I say yes. Even though she hurt me so badly, I did still love her. So things with the guy at the gym turned very toxic very fast. I know the word narcissist gets thrown around a lot these days. This guy, though, it's hard to believe these subhuman pieces of trash actually exist. So she stays in the guest bedroom for a week, then goes and stays at her parents' for a month. She had a nervous breakdown and was able to get a medical leave of absence from her work. Mid-January comes around and she is back at the house, but still in a very frantic and erratic state, sort of like she was withdrawing off hard drugs. I had no idea about the addictive nature of toxic relationships. It's a psychological clusterfuck. She is clear that she is too messed up in the head to be in a relationship and is going to work on herself. I give her the time and space she requested. She goes all in on learning about the psychology of all of this. Inner child work. How the nervous system reacts and attracts you to toxic people if you grew up in a toxic household. Anxious and avoidant attachment styles. There is this book called How to Stay Married, where the wife had an affair, and it turns out the root of the issue was her unresolved childhood trauma. Long story short, the same thing happened here. It hurts, but I can forgive her. She is my best friend, and we are insanely compatible in a lot of ways. She has really been returning to herself the past month. She is the happiest I have seen in her at least a year, and last week we filed the paperwork to dismiss the divorce. We are both in individual counseling and soon to start couples therapy, I am sure a lot of people will think I am making a mistake in reconciling, but I am happy. I do trust her that she now has the knowledge to not let this happen again, and she has the drive to become the best person she can be. Now for a few comments. Big Jack 2023, good luck. I couldn't, but I'm glad you are. Mission Department 1. I have a feeling that she only came back because her new love didn't work out. I mean, she did drop you like a bad habit. Hopefully she is genuinely sorry for what she has done, but it will always be in the back of your mind. Signal Wall 8445. She is reading books on how women manipulated their husbands into forgiving their cheating, and he thinks it is some big psychological breakthrough that absolves her from being a horrible person. Now for the 4-month update. My wife cheated. We tried to rekindle, but she says we can't because intimacy with the other guy was too mind-blowing. Go ahead if you want to read my post-comment history about the shoot. Show my life has been the last 365 days. My self-esteem is reshattered, and I really don't know what to think. My wife and I were together for 12 years, and I thought we had a great intimacy life. 3 to 4 times a week. Felt very passionate. She always talked about how good I was at pleasing her. She always came. She left me for someone she knew 90 days, and they lasted 5 months. I tried to salvage a relationship of 12 years. Things were decent, but the passion was gone, and she was clearly hung up on the fact that her knight in shining armor wasn't who she thought. It was making me hate myself staying with her, so I finally left. Today, she told me that the main reason we were not able to rekindle things is that intimacy with the other guy was so mind-blowing that she can't be in a romantic relationship that doesn't have that level of intimacy intensity. I don't know how I'm supposed to process this. Now for a few comments. Different Management 1. She sounds rather cruel and kind of stupid. I bet your life is going to be better off without her in it. Big Opinion 098357. Your wife chose fantasy intimacy over 12 years of commitment, memories, and building a life with you. That's self-absorbed. The fact that she gives you the details too is really low. She could have just said she wasn't happy and ended it. Time to find yourself again and think about what you want. That's the truth. Wish I had accepted that 7 months ago. Our divorce was 12 days away before she dismissed it. Now we gotta go through it again. Love and learn. I wish that were true. I'm leaving because of her hitting me below the belt. Last week, I wanted to reconcile. Try and save what was once a loving and secure relationship. Her telling me that shoot was the final nail in the coffin. One last kick in the balls to conclude a year of pain and heartbreak. I will be okay though. Yep, got that right. Also just started making 6 figures in a low cost of living area, in addition to selling a house that is nearly paid off. Fitness is my main priority right now. Overall, I'm not too worried. I'm ready to move on. I just feel stupid. Not divorced yet. It's been a long time coming, but this shoot just went down 2 weeks ago. Our finances have been separate for a while now. She is broke, and I have like $150 in IRA 401k and savings. My sister is a lawyer, not a divorce lawyer, but she says I should do it without a lawyer. I am doing the paperwork right now. Soon-to-be ex-wife isn't mad at me or anything. She does feel bad and knows she is the POS in this situation. So she is being civil. We've agreed to sell the house, split the profit, and that will be that. She will leave my retirement account alone. Appreciate the advice. That is sound wisdom. I hike a lot. Hit the gym 5 to 6 days a week. Have been for 2 years. I'm a novice at guitar, and this seems like a perfect opportunity to really get good. Would love to be in a band. We'll have to think about the combat sports. I do kickboxing workouts for cardio and do enjoy those. Yep, no doubt. Divorce has been filed.